So I want to throw this up here
for 2.5 months before we got engaged. That was pretty funny, actually. Like maybe 2 months in. Actually, so our first date was September 5th, and we got engaged December 22nd.
Was she?
Okay, this is what a gamma male does. Oh, December 22nd. I bet if you asked his wife what the dates and the times were, she would have no fucking clue.
At all surprised?
Well, what was really funny is that about mid-November, November 15th, I remember all the dates. November 15th.
Mid-November. November 15th.
It was the first time I said I love you to my wife, and she said thank you. And that lasted for about a month. That was very
Do you think he gives his wife like anniversary cards of the first time he said I love you? What is this for? It's November 15th. This is the first time I said I love you.
awkward month. It's like I'd finish every phone call, I'd be like, love you, sweetheart. Thanks. Bye. So that was real awkward. But the reason she was doing that, and it made sense, is because of what happened next, right? December 15th, she says to me, I love you too. And she knew what was going to happen. She said, then the next words out of my mouth were, okay, let's get married. Like, we're done. Okay, I love you. You love me. We're done. Let's get married. Let's have kids. Let's have a life.
This music is so fucking annoying.
Together. And she goes, let's just enjoy this time. So I'm not enjoying this time. This is miserable for me. Like, what are you talking about?
She like wants to live in the moment. Remember, I tell you guys like you got to play the game. Like you got to play with her and play with her. This is exposing the game. This is like not. This is what I said. Women don't want to know that they're playing a game. They want you to be a good player of it. Shapiro in no way is a player whatsoever. In fact, he would rather explain like, oh, okay, I don't like this. I want to fucking get to the good part.
If you're a religious person dating for marriage, the worst thing is the dating. The dating and the engagement sucks. Like if you're religious.
Yeah, because it's an obstacle. Because it's an impediment to getting to the fucking part.
Person, then you get to get married, you get to sleep with the person, you get to live with the person, build a life with, like that's all the rest of this is just delay. So she's like, why don't we enjoy this? I'm like,
all the rest of this is just delay. There's romance for you right there. All this is just fucking delay. Delay for what? To the fucking man.
You don't understand. I'm not enjoying this at all. This sucks. Like I want to lock this down. We'll be done. It'll be great. This will be over. This period of our life. She was like, well, let's just think about it. A week later, we got engaged.
Oh my God. Such romance. Jesus. This is the guy. I'm going to show you something. The reason I gave you that as a preempting here is I've got to show you the rest of this because this is the guy who wants to tell you what real fucking masculinity is. And which is right here. No, not that. No, not that one. Where did it go? Well, you pestered her. You pestered her until she relented, right? Yes. No, that's not it. Hold on a second. Oh, okay. Here it is. Okay, so let's take that. That's the shot. This is the chaser right here.
Quite good, but that is not the core of what masculinity is. You do all those things in service of another thing. Those are what we would call instrumental goods.
Ben Shapiro, who was on the Chris Williamson podcast, talking about what masculinity actually is.
What do you wish more young men realized?
What masculinity is. There's been concerted movement on the right to treat masculinity as lifting weights, having sex, and driving awesome cars.
You mean like the Andrew Tate you used to glorify when he was like on top of his game, along with Patrick Bet-David and the rest of these guys? Pick and pull. Yeah, I love this. This is the guy who was going to tell you what masculinity is really about, because this is the dude who wanted to get to the good part of his marriage.
You can do all of those things, and I'm not saying any of those things are bad. I think in their proper context, all of those things are quite good, but that is not the core of what masculinity is. You do.
Does this guy look like he's ever driven a supercar, lifted a weight, or been on his game, or been a fucking like crazy, hustler?
All those things in service of another thing. Those are what we would call instrumental goods. They're not inherent goods. They're things that are designed for another thing. You lift weights so that you can be strong, so you can stay healthy for your family. It's an instrumental good. It's not an inherent good. You're not inherently more virtuous because you picked up weights. And in the same way that earnings, right? Your income.
Okay, so he's making a fundamental error here. And this is the difference between, we were just talking about this a minute ago. This is the difference between individualism versus collectivism, and the idea that you're only improving yourself for the sake of other people. Remember when we talk about mental point of origin, when I'm telling you, you need to be the first thing that comes to your brain when you are making a decision. Okay. So the only reason you would ever lift weights, the only reason you would ever want to make money, I guess the only reason you ever want to drive a supercar is so that you can I don't know, translate that or convert that into some sort of good, some social human good, because it's incumbent upon you as a member of society to do all this great stuff, which really kind of falls. Yeah, he's a word cell. You're damn right, he's a word cell. Which falls into the purview of the fact that your only reason, what dominates society right now? It's the gynocentric social order. You're only a good person. You only should be doing these things so that you can be a better husband or a better wife or better man to solve the problems of women. That's what it basically boils down to.
Is an instrumental good. You're not inherently a better person because you have a higher income. The same thing is true with regard to sex. Sex within the context of a committed marriage, which is designed to foster love between you and your spouse, and yes, to make babies. It's also an instrumental good that is designed toward a higher good, which is the maintenance of the marriage, which is why extramarital sex, for example, is bad. The more I just live in the political sphere and the philosophical sphere.
That's funny, considering that he wanted to rush through all of that stuff to get to the instrumental good of fucking the wife.
The more you realize that everything is reactionary. Everything is reactionary.
Aaron, it's kind of interesting because Ben talks fast and he sort of sounds like a mouse, but he is right about all of that. And I think that gets to why you're always calling these guys low T soy betas, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. Ben is so smart. That's why people hate him, because he's actually right about a lot of things. And
he's a gamma male that women instinctively want to punch in the face.
People don't like to look in the mirror and see the truth. And he's also actually calling out the right a little bit there, which is interesting. And I think it's deserved. But on the left, I actually think that's why Doug Emhoff, Tim Walz, these guys are such losers. And that's why the left likes them, because there are so many losers in this country. Like, we refer to them all the time, like these mentally ill, fat nippled freaks. And they look at Tim Walz and he makes them feel better about themselves. He validates their loser existence. Whereas JD Vance shows you, yeah, you could grow up dirt poor as a hillbilly, and you can go to a great law school, work in venture capital, have a movie made about your life, and then become the VP pick. I mean, that makes these losers feel badly about themselves. And on the right, that's something we aspire to. We look up to that.
All right, let me hold on for a second here. So one of the things I've heard, I've referred to on the show, as a matter of fact, is Scott Galloway seems to, and not just Scott Galloway, but like guys like Richard Reeves as well, seem to idealize the quote unquote masculinity that is embodied by Tim Walz. I know, hard to believe, right? But they see him as sort of like coach. Like, he's a good masculinity. He's a guy who's going to be there. He's teddy bear masculinity. Like, he's not Andrew Tate masculinity. He's sort of just like lovable, huggable, man bun masculinity, right? And as long as you can keep masculinity in a box, as long as you can, or outside of the box, I should say, as long as you can keep it ambiguous, as long as you can keep it like relative, and you don't have. I loved it when, like, what was it? Matt Walsh was doing his documentary on what is a woman, right? And he's asking this question of mostly liberals. Let's be honest, and they don't have an objective like definition for him. I remember seeing him on the Dr. Phil show, and he was there with the bearded lady, and the guy who's wanted to basically pretend. He's just saying, "Hey, look, I identify as a woman." He's got a beard and got lipstick and everything else. He's also on there with some sort of feminist professor from whatever liberal university, I can't even remember. And their only real defense against the questions he was asking was like, "Well, why do you feel like do you feel like your manhood is in some way being threatened or attacked because he wants to identify as a she," right? And they have to make it about him, and it's a personal problem and everything, which, by the way, the right does just as much as the left. As I was saying, like, the reason if I say, "Ladies, have you fucked your husband?" Well, why do you have a problem with that, Rollo? That's weird, Rollo. That's basically the same equivalent of this woman saying, "Well, why is your masculinity threatened because he's a she or she's a he, whatever." But the real question is this: is that if they were to give a definitive answer of what is a woman, it would force them to reconsider their own identity, and that's a place that's simply a place that they're never going to go, because they want to be the ones who are basically controlling the environment. The environment says there's a he and a she. Well, If I can control the environment, if I can control the rules and the frame, the predictive framework of the game, then I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. And a he can be a she, and and it can be a they, and whatever the hell it is, right? So the same thing applies here, though, when it comes to masculinity. So if we're asking what is a woman, why wouldn't we ask what is a man? Like where's Joe Walsh? Where's Matt Walsh asking that question? That's what really we should probably do a documentary or something on that, right? Because the moment you say a man is X, Y, and Z, a man does these things, because that's what Ben Shapiro is trying to do. He's like, a real man cares about his family, and he's pro-social, he's all this other stuff. He's only improving himself because he has to use that improvement to better his family and better society and better this. It's never about the individual. It's always about the collective. That's what it is. So when we're talking about collectivist societies versus individualist societies, that's really like, there's no one more communist than Ben Shapiro. Because if I'm expected to take my natural talents and my natural drives and my ambition and all the insane amount of intensity that I need to meet and exceed my burden of performance, but I'm only supposed to do that because it's going to help the greater good. We're all Tao. For the greater good, right? But why? Because the greater good sucks. From what I can see, from what I see daily on social media, why would I want to do that? And that's what most guys are saying. You want to know why guys are dropping out of school and they don't want to have anything to do with this? Because they look at that and go, why? The greater good ain't worth it. The juice ain't worth the squeeze of the greater good. So why would I want to lift weights? Why would I want to make more money? Why would I want to be a badass? Why would I want to be all the good things that I can pick and pull from the Andrew Tate masculinity if all I'm going to do is use them and apply them to a society that could give two fucking shits about me, that expects me to kill myself so that I can fulfill the life plans of a female-centric, gynocentric social order? Why would I want to do that? That's the question they will never be able to answer. As I was saying before, I think on the next time that I do a midweek, I'm going to give you guys a video. I'll just do a breakdown of it. It's an old turd flinging monkey video. It's called Lead, Follow, or Get the Hell Out of the Way. And really it's where the idea of responsibility without authority is slavery. That's where that comes from. And the reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because that's exactly where Ben Shapiro would like to define masculinity, as slavery, as responsibility with no authority. Because to have authority would be too individual. The authority would be imbued into the individual and not into the collective. And that's really what he's on about. And that's really what this whole fucking thing is on about. Anytime I listen to this kind of argumentation between like, what is a man, what's not, like, Is Tim Walls the embodiment of real masculinity? Remember when I showed you the Justin Baldini thing where he's saying like, oh, I had to let go of this mask of masculinity. Why isn't that real? What if, for sake of argument, there's no fucking mask? What if a guy is actually like that? What if that guy's predominant personality is this dominant, maverick, fucking individualist masculinity that is the mental point of origin is the individual for his own benefit, and then the benefit of his family, and then for the benefit of the people that he decides are worthy of that benefit, instead of the opposite way around. I better get better because these people are depending on me. How about this? I get better, and then the people who depend on me get that benefit. There's a difference in those equations right there. There's my version, which is it's about the individual, and it's about mental point of origin, and it's about enlightened self-interest. It's about I can't help others until I can help myself. I can't help others as well as when I help myself first. But what comes first is me. What comes first in my thought stack, in my cognitive stack, is me. Not the greater good. Not I'm going to fucking save the West. I'm going to increase the fertility rate. I gotta do that, so I got to get better. It should be about the individual and then about society, not the other way around. Oh, I have to get better because society needs me to be better. Fuck that. That's, and again, is it a mask? Oh, see, the thing is this, I brought this up on Dr. Phil. And then Fox News actually wrote about it. And then fucking even Pearl ripped me off on this not too long ago, is that we only celebrate masculinity when it looks like femininity. We only celebrate The Rock when he puts on a tutu and stars in The Tooth Fairy. Because oh, bro, The Rock, oh, he's not really like that. Yeah. We only celebrate masculinity when it looks like femininity. Because it's acquiescence. It's surrender to that feminine imperative. It's saying, okay, you win. I'm deferring to the female as the authority. And I'll even humiliate myself to do so. And as long as we're living in that, as long as we can't, well, as long as conservatives won't have that conversation, you're never going anywhere. Tell me all you want about like repealing the 19th and all this other shit. You will never get there until you fundamentally change your mind about like where you fit in your own fucking cognitive stack. And especially with guys like Shapiro, who wanted to get to the good part, who was a fucking gamma male to begin with. This is the guy that's going to tell you what your responsibilities are as a real fucking man. Get the fuck out of here, man. Take that fucking shove it up your ass, man.
But the left just wants tons of excuses, like, oh, Doug Emhoff like smacked the woman he was dating in the face, and has this like freak child that like that like knits as her living. Yeah, that's relatable to me, and that's why the left likes it, and that's why they hate JD Vance.
Phoenix, I think we filed that clip under harsh but true for the archives. Emily, bring up.
Yeah, and Dave Rubin, also gay.
Us home before we show you one other clip of the Walls family.
Okay, I was literally about to say, I think your partner should be a huge reflection of who you are. And I don't know much about Tim Walz. I don't.
Okay, why is a conservative woman using the term partner?
Need to. I know the way he treated people during COVID. That's really all I need to know is you as a person. As soon as you get a little power, how much you abuse it. But that's what weak feminine men like him do. His wife is a freak. She's a freak. She talks to the voters like they're they are children. I would be insulted if Trump went up there and talked like that. But like I said, they're very dumb, but she is weird.
Love it. Good enough.